Hello guys, welcome. I am Samantha the Introvert, and today I want to give you my personal recap on episode 3 of Shine. So let's get into it. We start the episode with seeing Tanwa, and Tanwa can't sleep, and I guess he's thinking about Trin. But also it seems this is where he calls home, which is the music store. Then, because he can't sleep, Tanwa went to Tanakom for help for something. Next thing you know, it's the next day where Tanwa went somewhere waiting on someone, and that someone is Trin. It seems this is what Tanwa asked Tanakon for help with. So he wants to know Trin's location schedule because right now Tanwa is dressed to go tennis. Seeing at this point in time, he can't escape Tanwa, so he agreed to let Tanwa join. But Tanwa later found out that it was not tennis that he's going to be doing. Turns out Tanwa is being tricked to go swimming, but that did not discourage Tanwa because even though he didn't bring anything to prepare for this trimming thing, he decided to take off his clothes and jumped into the pool with just his underwear, which did shock Trin because Trin never expected Tanwa to do that. When they both got into the pool, Trin wanted to compete in swimming, but Tanwa said he wanted to challenge Trin on holding his breath underwater, which was very childish to Trin, but because Tanwa said if he did that and whoever wins, which if he wins, then he would leave Trin alone, and that got Trin to agree. Things was going great, but then Tanwa got super close to Trin. Trin lost his composure and ended the bet. For reference, this is how close Tanwa got. So since Tanwa won the challenge, he won't be leaving Trin alone, and Trin will be seeing Tanwa way often. But Trin whispers in Tanwa's ears and tells him that he cheated, and that means the bet is off. Then we see Tanakom showing up and seeing Trin, because technically Trin was to be playing tennis with him, but I guess that's not going to be happening. Now at home, Trin is still confused about himself because he always encountering Tanwa, and it's 1969, he can't ask anyone about his feelings, so he has to rely on textbooks. All I can say is Trin is taking notes. If Trin secretly knows that his uncle is gay, then he could ask his uncle for help. But even if the uncle the uncle himself needs help too. Then we saw that at the library, we then see Noran and Krillard who kissed. Noran then stopped because he feels it's wrong and he left. Because of that moment, Krillard cannot stop thinking about Noran. At home, he is with his wife, who is seducing him to have sex. But while in that mood, Krillard imagining himself with Nolan because at this moment, he can only get in the mood if he's with Nolan. But when the wife mentioned that she wants to have babies, he stopped. To be honest, they have been married for quite some time. It would be obvious she wants to grow her family, but Krillard doesn't want that. Well, not with her. I do feel sorry for both of them because the wife, she loves Krillard and she wants to have a family with him. But on the other hand, Krillard is suffering to be with a woman. In reality, he loves a man. He already feels like he found the guy he likes, but this year and people will not like that. Nolan and Krillard still writes and sends codes to each other, but if you look at it, they are both in the same boat. Then you have Trin trying to solve every little details of his feelings, but this is not one you can just solve like a math problem. Scientists can't solve feelings. It just happened. One thing I do love about this show, it gives politics, problems that people faces, drama. It gives the year. You see designs because you can tell the year and not see the people, and things go with it. And hear me out here. You get to see the use of books and typewriters, but also handphones were not common in that year. Hell, they're not even in that year. Just house phones. These children nowadays, They don't know nothing about house phones. They don't understand that I was born in the house phone days. Sorry, I meant to say I was born in the house phone and cell phone days. I wasn't born in just house phones. Cell phones were invented when I was born too. Anyways, by the way, Nolan alias name is Saraswati. Saraswati. And Krellert's alias is Klyrong. The wife tries again to see if she can motivate Kryler to have sex with her. But once you're not in the mood, you're just not in the mood. I love that he didn't fight her back or fight her off in some sense, but he let her feel herself that the body was not in the mood. Then we see Nadan enjoying what Quiller must have wrote in the paper and being caught by his girlfriend. But the girlfriend he didn't tell his girlfriend the reason why he's looking happy. I wonder, when her father told her she will be marrying Quiller, was she happy or was she okay because it's something she's used to and family choose the love for them? Trin is with his uncle and wife, and the wife tells Quillard about how they wrote about him in the newspaper, about the plant thingy, and asks if what he said was true in the paper. Instead of Quillard answering, he responded like he just tried to ignore the whole thing. Also, they should too. Meanwhile, Nolan is out eating with his girlfriend, and the girlfriend asks Nolan if he's the one that wrote that article in the newspaper about Krillard, and he confirmed it, but she said she is worried if he continues, Nolan may get in trouble, but Nolan said he's not afraid. Then she tells Nolan that not to mess with Krillard because he is not a person you should provoke. But little does she know that Nolan already tasted Krillard, so messing with Krillard is nothing he's afraid of. That's not a problem. That's the least of Nolan's problems. After the little breakfast, Krillard and Trin went walking and talking about old times and how things were with just them. You know, all they're talking, all I keep thinking is, do they not have ice cream cones in 1969? Or was it their version of ice cream cake? Then Kriller noticed that something seems off with or bothering Trin, but Trin doesn't want to say anything, and Kriller gets that, so he assumed that it has something to do with work and told him to just hang in there. What I do love about this drama is the camera persons personally angling the camera so the audience will not tell that they are part of a building that is in 2025 data, but angles it in a way that we can see it's like 1969 presents and like the old cars. It makes up for everything. Honestly, I want to know the budget because buying these old cars and let them lining out like that is not cheap. Oh, by the way, remember that scene where Tanwa tries to put an origami in Trin's bag but accidentally got Trin's handkerchief to fall out? Well, Tanwa managed to give back that handkerchief and now Trin is using it right now, but he accidentally dropped it in the water. Yeah, no saving for that one. That one's a lost. Okay, back at the precinct or the station, reporters are there, and because of the articles in the newspaper, they are questioning Kraylert about the whole thing, and Kraylert will not answer any of those questions. Nolan was there, but when Kraylert left, the other reporters were shocked that Nolan never asked both questions like he did the last time and assumed Kraylert must have threatened Nolan, but Nolan said it's nothing like that. Meanwhile, Trin went to the place, that place where he went to the guy about the contract thingy. Anyways, he went to talk to the guy and ideas on things about the power plant issue. But the guy basically tells Trin to not to put himself into that matter. Trin even brought up the whole thing about the protesters, but again, the man said the same thing. Getting oneself into politics is very dangerous, especially if you want to go against someone you have no idea about that person. Wrong move. You can't go against someone you don't know. After his conversation, Trin got ready to leave, but finds himself stuck because it's raining. Then he looked around and he saw the music section and stumbled on an album he likes. Tanwa sees Trin and invites Trin to play with him in the garden. It is raining, so Trin says no, but Tanwa manages to convince Trin to change his mind. Seeing how Tanwa looks so amazing, having fun in the rain, I don't blame Trin. Look at this man. It really do feel like 1970s in the garden with hippies. I have to admit, Tanwa really let Trin see the other side of things and let him be himself in a year and a world where he's not so free. After the rain ended, they relaxed and Tanwa even let Trin try his makeshift cigarette, in other words, weed, and this time he got no choking out of this one. He managed that weed real good. Trin came back home and got another origami, and by the end of this drama, I wonder how many origami we'll ever have. Nolan is at the library and he wants to change the way he and Krillert communicate. Nolan is in the bathroom and Krillert is surprised to see him because it's way earlier than their normal meetup time. But when Krillert comrade came in the bathroom and saw Nolan, he thinks that Nolan is ready to cause trouble. But Krillert tells him to leave Nolan alone, which Nolan did end up leaving. But before Nolan leaves, he put like a crushed up paper in the ashtray and Krillert saw that. Back in the days, they had something great. An ashtray in the bathroom. On the piece of paper is basically the name of the book and where the book is located and the page on the book. And in there, they will see the note that Nolan left. We then see Trin asking students on their opinion on what is going on in terms of the power plant thing and other issues. And generally, it's either the kids are finding Trin very annoying or some of them are finding him very sexy and he's not getting any of those answers that he wants. Then Tanwa showed up and while following Tanwa, Trin noticed the teachers and students knows him, plus he's wearing the uniform of the school. So yes, Tanwa is a student. Scratch that shit. Tanwa kissed Trin. You know what that meant? Anyways, Nolan is introduced to Victor and the other friends about the power plant protesters thingy and wants to team up to find out more information they can use to put in the newspaper. In the library, Krillert found the book and the page with the sentences underlined. From that day on forward, that is how Nolan and Krillert communicates. Victor brought his friends and Nolan to his place for food. While there, Victor's father told him to go in his room to find something, and the friend stumbled on like a work his father was doing, and they saw the name of it, plus the title of it. It's like a novel or something. I'm guessing his father's name is very strong in the novel world, so that is why they're shocked to see this one, but it's not published. When Nolan sees it, he offers to publish it for Victor's father, but Victor's father said he can't because not only is the book probably about politics and stuff, he doesn't want to do it because the father will be in trouble. For context, the worst part of the whole thing is that the father is in the country, Thailand, illegally. And if the public knows and the government knows about this just by publishing that one book, then the government will go for Victor's father and probably deport him. The world keeps being very small because Trin keeps on bumping into Victor, who asked about his reason for being there in this location, and Trin tells Victor and Victor offers to help. When they start talking, Victor got to realize that he underestimated Trin and he noticed that they got a lot of things in common in terms of trying to make a change. Okay, so Nolan went to the library to see about his notes and if Krillert reads it. Now, how this communication work is that Nolan will go in the library in the morning, write his little notes in the book, write and underline the sentence that he will say to Krillert and leaves it there. Then Krillert will look in the book, find the notes of the book that he's supposed to look for, finds the notes, then write it on the paper, put it back in the previous book so Nolan can go back for the book to see it and it go vice versa. So morning Nolan, evening Krillert. That's how it works. You understand, right? That's how it works. But then, because things are getting a little bit too much, Nolan tries to end the conversation relationship part, but Krayla thinks it's very adorable because he thinks Nolan is being flirty, especially with the books that he's choosing. But obviously, Nolan is definitely not ending this conversation because he keeps going to the library and checking for the notes. This particular moment, though, he went to the library on closing time to see if he can catch the notes that Kriller left, but he doesn't find a note there. Kriller then caught him because in this time, Kriller always comes to the library at this specific time. Anyways, Kriller did read the book, but he didn't get the chance to actually write what he wants to say in the book. So he end up finds the book because he's reading it right now, underline what he wants to say, and now he's gonna give it to Nolan. First of all, disclaimer, I do realize that I'm calling this man Nolan instead of Noran, but we already know who I'm talking about, so let's move on. Krillard then says that Nolan should stop hiding away from the love that is forming. Now, I do love that Krillard is someone that is not afraid of love itself, but he is cautious, so you gotta give him that. Krillard grabbed Nolan and bring him to the storage part of the library and asked Nolan if he wants to end things. And Nolan said yes, because he has no feelings for Krillard. So Krillard ended up kissing Nolan to confirm if Nolan does not like him. Nolan ended up kissing him back. Yeah, way to go. I thought you said you don't like him anymore. You know, Nolan can try to fool himself, but he can't fool his body. His body literally says different from what he's saying. And he just proved Kriller right. Seeing that they both cannot hide their feelings, they ended up having sex. The sad thing about this whole situation is they both in a relationship with a woman. You see the problem it's gonna cause right now? Anyways, I'm not gonna get into details of all the nitty-gritties going on. You have to go watch the show. Meanwhile, Krillard is at the library doing a boom shiggy bang bang. His wife is home, and Comrade came to visit the wife as usual because he knows Krillard is not home. This drama is just messed up in terms of relationship. The man that she loves is with another man, and another man that his husband is with is as a woman, and then the Comrade guy said he wants to stay and quote-unquote water her plants. So while he's watering her plant, she's upstairs watching him. Homeboy wet himself up and she's watching the wet man and she's thinking dirty about her and himself, whatever. I do understand the lust because Krillard is not always home, and when he is, he's never in the mood. So if she wants to cheat, go right ahead because her man is actually doing the same thing with no regrets. Now, for disclaimer, I do not condone cheating. Let me say that again. I do not condone cheating, but the fact that I'm seeing and knowing what's happening, yeah, again, I do not condone cheating. Oh my God, this man definitely know what he was doing. Now, for right now, she can get a divorce, you know. Both Krillard and this woman can get a divorce. It's not like the girl's father is still in active duty and he's alive. If he is alive, okay. But if he's not alive, you guys can divorce and move on, you know. Okay, Victor's friends are getting ready for another protest thing, but they also notice that Victor is getting too close to Trin. Victor once hated Trin, so what happening now? But while Victor and Trin are having their conversation, you can see on Trin's face that he just wants to get away from Victor. But in the midst of their little conversation, it got a bit heavy on a particular topic. But as soon as Trin sees Tanwa, his anger face changed. You see, this is a man that is in love, people. He just doesn't know it yet. Tanwa came to break up their little conversational talk and takes Trin away. By the way, Tanwa and Victor do not get along well. Victor hates rich people, and that includes Tanwa, but Trin is exception. They went to Tanwa's little concert, and Victor sees how much Trin smiles when he looks at Tanwa, so he can actually guess what's going on. Oh, by the way, the posters that Victor's friend was doing, I don't think it was a protest thing. I think it was some event for Tanwa and some other events. But anyways, that is the end of my recap on episode 3 of Shine. Stay tuned for my recap on episode 4.